The Young and the Restless spoilers for Wednesday, August 5th, find Nikki and Victor celebrating their latest reunion, as they avoid remembering all the times they've broken up in the past. When Victor, Eric Braeden, first met Nikki, Melody Thomas Scott, he led the bubbly, naive stripper to believe that he was the real Victor Newman's manservant. Great start. Before long, Victor was telling Nikki he didn't love her and forcing her to marry a sweet dupe named Kevin, while Nikki was lying that Kevin, not Victor, was Victoria's, Amelia Heinel, biological father. By the time they got married for the first time, Victoria was a toddler, and Nikki and Victor were convinced the worst was behind them. Victor and Nikki have cheated on each other, taunted each other, tortured each other, and then remarried again, as if none of it had ever happened. Most recently, Nikki walked out on Victor after learning that he'd kidnapped Jack, Peter Bergman, and almost gotten him killed. Nikki demanded that Victor drop his stupid, selfish, petty, and illogical vendetta against her ex-husband. Victor said something about maybe, possibly something. That was good enough for Nikki. Now, Nikki has suggested a trip to Venice, where they can celebrate their reunion and look forward to sunny days ahead. Victor is happy to go along. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Wednesday, August 5th, find Nikki and Victor celebrating their latest reunion, as they avoid remembering all the times they've broken up in the past. Victor Newman and Nikki Reed have been the cornerstone of Genoa City drama for over 4 decades, and as they plan their next chapter, fans are left wondering if this reconciliation truly signals a new beginning or if history is destined to repeat itself. When Victor, Eric Braeden, first met Nikki, Melody Thomas Scott, he led the bubbly, naive stripper to believe that he was the real Victor Newman's manservant. Great start. Before long, Victor was telling Nikki he didn't love her and forcing her to marry a sweet dupe named Kevin, while Nikki was lying that Kevin, not Victor, was Victoria's, Amelia Heinel, biological father. By the time they got married for the first time, Victoria was a toddler, and Nikki and Victor were convinced the worst was behind them. What followed has been one of daytime television's most tumultuous romances. They have cheated on each other, taunted each other, tortured each other, and then remarried again, as if none of it had ever happened. The couple, often referred to by the portmanteau, Nictor, by fans, has married 3 times and divorced twice, with their relationship defined by a continuous cycle of passionate reunions and devastating betrayals. Most recently, Nikki walked out on Victor after learning that he'd kidnapped Jack, Peter Bergman, and almost gotten him killed. Nikki demanded that Victor drop his stupid, selfish, petty, and illogical vendetta against her ex-husband. Victor said something about maybe, possibly something. That was good enough for Nikki. On Friday's episode, Victor finally told Nikki that his love for her is stronger than his hatred for Jack. In a shocking twist, he apologized and asked her to come home to him. This emotional breakthrough led to a reconciliation and Victor sliding her wedding ring back on. This moment marked a potential shift in the dynamic of their marriage. By refusing to back down, Nikki forced Victor to choose between his obsession with Jack and the survival of their marriage. In past conflicts, Victor routinely weaponized his hatred for Jack to avoid addressing his own dominating behavior. Every time Nikki sought comfort or simple autonomy, Victor reframed it as a betrayal of their family. During this crucial conversation, Nikki rejected this deflection and demanded genuine validation. She forced Victor to confront his anger and acknowledge her right to emotional safety and independent relationships. As the conversation intensified, Jack's name faded into the background, exposing the structural flaws of Nictor. By focusing squarely on these cycles, Nikki achieved what marriage counselors could never do. She made Victor admit that his need for control was destroying the woman he loved. A history of epic proportions, the Victor and Nikki saga represents one of daytime television's most prominent pairings. Their relationship began in 1981 when Victor plucked Nikki from obscurity as a stripper at the Bayou nightclub. Under his influence, she was transformed into a classy young lady. Victor was initially adamant that he had no romantic feelings for Nikki, but he soon succumbed to her charms. Ashley Abbott has arguably been one of the greatest threats to their union. Victor fell in love with Ashley, who happens to be the sister of his archenemy Jack Abbott. Victor was heartbroken to discover that Ashley had aborted his baby so that he would stay with a dying Nikki. Nikki later recovered but intentionally hadn't informed Victor to stay clear of the threat Ashley posed. Yet, they shared one final night of passion together, which resulted in the birth of Nicholas Newman. The couple's history includes Victor's brief marriage to Diane Jenkins in 1997, followed by Nikki being shot by her husband's ex-wife Veronica Landers. Victor left Diane to remarry Nikki on her deathbed, and eventually Nikki survived. However, Victor's speedy marriage to Nikki wasn't legal because his divorce from Diane wasn't finalized. Eventually, Diane reluctantly agreed to a legal divorce after she acquired millions in the divorce settlement. The Venice escape now. Nikki has suggested a trip to Venice, where they can celebrate their reunion and look forward to sunny days ahead. Victor is happy to go along. During the August 4th episode, Nikki and Victor returned to the main house after a tour of the grounds, both expressing their desire to move on from past resentments and enjoy their time. Joking, they agreed not to let anyone know they are getting soft. She even admitted she's grateful to Matt and Phyllis for saving their son. Their grandchildren dropped off flowers, and Nikki suggested a trip to Venice, leaving the kids to run things. To her surprise, Victor asked when they could leave. Upon her arrival at the ranch, Victoria expressed her happiness to see her parents together and was thrilled when they announced their Venice plans, sure this is a positive new beginning. What the Venice trip could mean while the romantic getaway seems like a perfect way to celebrate their reunion, some speculate the Italy trip could serve a greater purpose. Since Summer Newman lives in Milan, Victoria suggested Nikki and Victor should try to see her while they're in Italy. Nikki indeed seemed hopeful that Summer might come join them in Venice for a bit. What if Nikki and Victor's trip actually winds up being the catalyst that brings Summer back to Genoa City? Nick Newman doesn't want Summer worrying about him, but Victor and Nikki might spill all the latest details on his ordeal anyway and leave Summer feeling like she's needed in GC. That's especially true now that Noah Newman is leaving town with Sienna Bacall. Perhaps this could be Summer's cue to head back home in Noah's place and give Nick more family support. It's also possible Summer could confess that Marchetti isn't doing well or that she's going through a bad breakup. Summer could cry to Victor and Nikki before they offer her a fresh start in GC, including a shiny new job. By the time Nikki and Victor resurface, they could either bring Summer with them or at least offer news on her upcoming return home. A health crisis and renewed commitment. The couple's recent reconciliation comes on the heels of a frightening health crisis for Nikki. Victor is on the verge of learning that Nikki has a brain mass that could cause total blindness with or without surgery. This ordeal has been a good reminder for Victor that he vowed to love Nikki in sickness and in health. Victor needed to step up for Nikki and prove that he's always going to be the man right by her side. When Nikki faced her moment of truth at the doctor's, Victor made a dramatic pronouncement. Nikki may be the one facing a life of blindness, but Victor insisted he's the one who will suffer the most if that happens. The woman Victor loves not being able to see him in all his glory. Victor would do anything to help Nikki, making sure everyone noticed how he was willing to do anything to help Nikki. Will this promise really change their future? The question remains. Is Victor creating lasting change or just a temporary truce? Victor rarely apologizes or admits fault, making his rare concession feel genuinely monumental. Choosing Nikki over a personal vendetta marks unprecedented growth for the mustache. However, viewers have seen this pattern before. The couple's history suggests that no matter how many times they promise to change, their toxic cycle continues. Victor controls as Nikki seeks independence, then an outside force intervenes, and Nikki is expected to return to the ranch as the submissive partner. Wash, rinse, repeat. Friday's episode proved that Nikki is no longer willing to play the damsel in Victor's empire. She has evolved, and her refusal to back down forced Victor to make a choice he never had to make before. Did Victor's decision to let go represent lasting change, or did he make another flimsy promise that will be tested the next time Jack enters the picture? The promise Victor and Nikki made to each other may indeed change their future, but only time will tell. As they embark on their Venice adventure, fans are left to wonder. Is this the beginning of a new chapter for Victor, or are we simply watching the same story play out once again? Victor has always been a man of grand pronouncements, and his latest promise to love Nikki more than he hates Jack represents a seismic shift in his character. But whether this change will stick or crumble under the weight of their shared history remains one of daytime television's most compelling questions. For now, Nikki and Victor are choosing to celebrate their reunion and look forward to sunny days ahead. They're heading to Venice, leaving the kids to run things, and trying to leave their resentments behind. After all the struggles Nikki has endured, no one deserves a relaxing vacation more than her. But in Genoa City, nothing stays peaceful for long. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that a surprise or two could be in store for Victor and Nikki during their trip, so fans should stick with the CBS soap to see what happens next. Whether their promise will truly change their future or become just another chapter in their legendary cycle of love, betrayal, and reconciliation remains to be seen. One thing is certain. Victor and Nikki Newman are, and always will be, the heart of The Young and the Restless.